buzz through a couple of other things here. So we'll kind of cruise through this next section kind of quickly, Mario, but there are a couple of what we'll call kind of shifts in consciousness or shifts in or paradigm shifts in the way the world works that I think if I was in your business, whether I was a developer, I worked for Citi, or I worked in an architecture firm, this is stuff that I think is really going to drive some of this change, and you should keep it in mind. Insight number one, the autonomous me. This is the new consumer, right? This is the person that has now experienced unparalleled freedom and flexibility. Like I know I didn't have to be in the office anymore, right? I want to choose to split up my day the way I want to split my day up. So I'm going to do yoga while I'm on the Zoom call, right? Or while I'm reading a report. I want to have the ability to do what I need to do, where I need to do it, when I need to do it. And I'm going to demand that my company allow me to do that and that my retailers support this in me, right? So I don't necessarily want to have to go through rush hour traffic to go buy toilet paper or blah, blah, blah. I don't have to do that anymore. I press buttons. Your offerings come to me and work into my schedule. I am free now. I work in Costa Rica when I want to, or I work during the yoga class. I don't mind working on the weekend. The 9 to 5, 5-day a week thing, that rigid structure is going to go away. People are going to be fluid and mobile, and businesses are going to have to support them. And if you can go to the next slide, there's another point on that, which is this de-siloing of real estate. So in this world of being autonomous and flexible, I no longer live in these silos of that's residential, that's commercial office, that's retail. All of that stuff happens in the same place for me now. So this girl's doing her homework. Dad's back in the background running his business. Somebody else is in the other room doing Peloton, right? Like my house now is where I work, where I socialize, where my kids go to school, where I go to the gym. And I don't think all of that's going to go away. I think this is the future. Residential is going to dramatically change because my home is no longer just the place that I sleep and feed my kids. I'm going to be working there. I'm going to be working out there. I'm going to be hanging out there. My office is no longer the place where I just do work. I'm going to be shopping there, right? I'm going to be socializing there. All of this stuff is going to begin to blend together and become de-siloed. And I think that's really cool because those rigid environments were really overly structured, and our freedom is just going to render them all a bit banal and out of date now, I think. Again, all this is, by the way, what I think. The data that I showed you before is credible, but a lot of this stuff is what we believe is going to happen. So if you go to the next one, please. Optimized health, optimized self. This is something that I think we are just going to have to recognize is going to drive so much of what we're thinking about today. As we're able to collect more data on ourselves, we're going to be looking for the world to contribute to better us all the time. So whether it's better food for me, better exercise for me, better work-life balance for me, better screen time for me, whatever it is, I'm constantly optimizing who I am today. And I'm looking for brands, businesses, and places to support that need. We go to the next slide. Actually, there's one other point on that last one, and I had built in another slide that we don't have in this version. But before we stay here, the other point number 4 in this, before we go to the next one, is data and artificial intelligence will be the future of it all, period. Every single place will become a place to capture data and to use that data to do something for you. So one of the things that we keep telling our development partners is no longer should you be designing with the architect and the urban planner and the branding person there without your CTO there, your head of technology there. Because the data that's captured in places will be as important as anything else that happens in places. and you will be able to sell that data. Every brand that goes into a place will demand that data. Your home will be completely and utter wired to capture data and utilize data for you at a moment's notice. The Internet of Things is here, it's upon us, and we have got to begin to recognize that place is now technology, period. It is not just form, it is not just structure, it has to be technology and place together. Your technology infrastructure, your data capture infrastructure, will be as important as your HVAC system, our belief. Sorry, go on to the next slide. The other one is rebirth of small. I kind of mentioned this before, and Elaine, your question I think kind of plays into this, but we believe that smaller, more intimate places and environments and worlds are going to become much more popular. It was already starting to happen. The rebirth of the bee city in the small town was booming already. With COVID, people are becoming decoupled from these large, bustling, hectic environments and moving towards these smaller places. You can do anything you need to in those small places because technology offers you the ability to do it. So the rise of the small town, the rebirth of the small town is going to be a big deal. We can go to the next slide. Sorry. Anti-corporate. I mentioned this one before when we were talking about John Mackey. But being a big brand is potentially going to hurt you in the future. Smaller brands that are enabled by entrepreneurs that have entrepreneurial stories are going to beat big brands in terms of what consumers want to hear and engage with. Big corporations are going to have to hide the fact that they're big corporations. On to the next slide. Sorry for coughing. Hope that's not COVID there. And then the last one, just kind of like an ode to what just happened to us. We are going to be trapped in this paradigm for the next number of years. As Elaine mentioned, desperate for human interaction, desperate for socialization. I need it. I want it. I want to be around people. But I'm still, as I cough and I say this, going to be afraid to be around you. Even if I've had the jabs, we are going to be a little bit nervous about what it means to be around each other for a while. But we're desperately going to want to be around each other. So that tension is something I think the design world has to help figure out. So that's the end of that section. And we can probably just wrap it up here, or I can burn through the last little bit. Why don't I just burn through the last little bit and we'll end.
Yeah, let's just go through that, Bart. Keep going, and then we'll hit it up in the Q&A.
Okay, cool. So just one quick thing I wanted to show you all. And again, this is pre-COVID stuff here, but I've talked a lot about moving away from creating places that are very functional and moving towards places that are very experiential. And there are a couple of examples of really cool things that have been happening that I think are cool to check out. How they'll survive after COVID, we don't know, because all of these places are closed right now. Samsung 837, I mentioned it. Massive flagship store. You can't buy a thing in there. You can put their hologram masks on. But what they're doing is when you go in, they're asking you for all your personal information, which you're desperate to give to them so that you can try the new VR machine out. Their data capture, that's the whole thing. Millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of data capture and R&D is happening in this retail space. They haven't sold a thing, and they don't need to because they're selling the Samsung dream. The next slide, please. Color Factory, I talked about it before. It's an experiential museum that you go to with your family. This one's in New York. It's $38 to get in. It's 20,000 square feet, 16 rooms to explore. It's constantly changing. Lines around the corner. You have to make reservations in advance because this is what people want to do. And by the way, this is in Soho, New York, in 20,000 square feet of prime, classic, transactionally focused retail space. We can go to the next one. Crayola Experience. This is one I really love, Crayola. their new model in retail. They've got their Crayola store where you can buy crayons and stuff, blah, blah, blah. But what's really interesting is there's a door in the back of it, and behind it is a 3,000 square foot kids play experience that you have to pay to go into. So it's like an arts and creativity playground for kids that costs money. And it is a huge hit. People are desperate to find a place to take their kids. So the store is moving away from being a place to buy crayons and towards being a place where you pay to go in and watch your kids play and make art. Next one, please. Sorry, Mario, for being the guy that keeps saying next one, next one. I feel like a jerk. This is Chanel Atelier Beauté. This is Chanel's kind of big thing. What happens after bricks and mortar retail, where people need to come places to go buy fragrance and beauty products. This is a hidden membership-based pay-to-play beauty experience where you come and you have this immersive, amazing time with some of the best beauticians in the world. You try all the Chanel products you want. You can come in there every day and make yourself up for free, but it's all about immersing yourself in the world of Chanel and their beauty products. It's not about buying stuff and leaving with it. Next slide. Pips Island, this one's really cool. This is another one, classic retail location that's been converted into a pay-to-play, kids-oriented theatrical experience. It's a 1-hour experience that marches kids around in groups into this live action animated experience. I think it's $75 and it's a 3-month waiting list to get in. And the next one. The Well, classic. This is Fifth Avenue reinvented away from an Abercrombie and Fitch store into a wellness center that's membership based, where you go in, you can work here, you can get spa treatments, you can see your doctor here. Again, this is what we believe the future of retail is. It's no longer, I'm going to go in there and buy Q-tips. It's, I'm going to go into a place and pay to make myself better. I think there's one more in here, which is the Museum of Ice Cream. But this is the next one is just another one of these really interesting conversions of retail experience into place to go have fun. They're opening these things up all over the country. They shift, they change. It's about this theme of ice cream, but essentially it's a place to go party. You pay to go in there. You can have events here. You can go have this kind of interactive experience. You can take a lot of selfies in here. They've just gotten a huge amount of funding to expand their operation. The list goes on, but this is the kind of stuff that I think is probably the future of retail in a lot of ways. So that's the presentation. Sorry it took so long, and so sorry for the technical glitches. Anybody, feel free to email me if you want to talk about any of this stuff. You want some of this information, I'm happy to send it to you. It's just bart@futureperfectx.com.
Right.
So that's my story.